So hi guys, welcome back to our channel. I hope you and your family members are doing good because that is the most important thing, and for rest we are here to talk. So as you know, we were following pattern wise DSA sheet and we have a huge demand. Along with continuation of this playlist, you all wanted me to make a video on how I actually used to calculate the time and space complexity and how we read the constraint, and also how by reading the constraint we can decide what data structure and what approach or what pattern to follow. So in this video, we are not going to discuss any questions from the sheet, but definitely the most important thing, which was time and space complexity. So before reading about space complexity, let's see what does actually time complexity means. As a beginner, we all used to think that time complexity means, how much time our code runs to take. No, huge mistake. Time complexity is not actually defining how much your code is taking time, but it actually says how our code will grow when our input size will grow. It means, suppose when I say the time complexity is linear, means O of n, it means if the input is 10 value, then for output also it will run 10 operations. Similarly, if it grows, means suppose it becomes 1000, then in 1 second we can run 1000 operations. Means how the input grows, our output will also grow accordingly. And the time complexity has nothing to do with how much time it takes. Now the next question is, why time complexity even exists? See, usually to run our code, 1 to 3 seconds is the allotted time, and in this approximately 10 power 8 operations can run. It can be more than that, suppose 4 into 10 power 8 or 5 into 10 power 8, and sometimes even lesser, suppose 10 power 7. Depending on the logic, this number might vary, but whenever we see if our input is 10 power 8 and if as per our time complexity, let's say O of n square, definitely if n is 10 power 8, n square will become 10 power 16, and we assume that no, it is not possible to run 10 power 16 operations in the given 1 to 3 second. Now why 1 to 3 second? Depending on the platform, sometimes on the hardware and sometimes as per the language, the number of operations to run within that 1 to 3 second might vary. Now the next thing is, what is this 10 power 8 operation concept? As said, in the given 1 to 3 second, the number of operations that can run is nearly 10 power 8. Nearly, not exactly. It can be 5 into 10 power 8 also, or 10 power 7 also, depending on the logic as said. And we know in every problem we have been given a constraint over there. See, if the constraint says it's 10 power 5. So if our time complexity is taking O of n square, then it will become 10 power 10, and this will give us TLE. So hence, as per the constraint, we will decide what approach to follow, what pattern to apply, and will the code will actually give us TLE or not. So this 10 power 8 concept is very simple. It's just like these 10 power 8 operations you can do within the given limited time, which can be from 1 second to 3 seconds. Sometimes beyond 10 power 8 also it can be safer, and sometimes at 10 power 7 also it can give us TLE. Now what is TLE? TLE is time limit error. As said, from 1 second to 3 seconds, in between, it's not fixed yet, but let's say from 1 second to 3 seconds, 10 power 8 operations we can do. And as said, if our constraint is 10 power 5, n square or brute force code can take 10 power 10. So it simply says within this time limit, means 1 to 3 seconds, we need to run 10 power 10 operations to actually successfully execute that particular code. But only 10 power 8 operations was allowed, and we need 10 power 10. So hence our code will not be able to properly execute, and we will see the time limit error saying time is over. I hope you are getting this. So this is actually, in simple words, the time limit error means. So remember, your time complexity has nothing to do with your runtime. Okay? Don't think your time complexity means it's taking 10 seconds or it's taking 5 seconds. Nothing like that. Time complexity is just how our output increases as per the input. And if it goes beyond 10 power 8 operations, nearly we can think of TLE. Now next topic, constraints decide the approach. As shown you earlier, in every problem statement, we would be given the constraint part. Suppose n can start from 1 and it can go till 10 power 5, like that. Okay? Or it can start from 1 and it can go till 10 power 8. or else it can start from 1 and it can go till 10 power 10. So as you can see, if the constraint is 10 power 5, we can think for linear approach. Linear means that will take O of n time complexity. This can run, right? Or else we can also take n log n. I'll teach you what are these types of time complexities. But as of now, just see ki n and this is allowed. But if you see this constraint 8, do you think we can run O of n square here? No. Similarly, not here also. But as you can see this time complexity, I told you 10 power 10. Will it be executed? No. Even if we try to write the linear approach O of n, that will also give us TLE because n itself says 10 power 8. It means for sure we have to, reduce the time complexity, and for sure that will be sorted, or you can even apply the binary search concept or something. For sure. So hence that's the meaning of the line ki constraint actually help us to decide what approach to use. Now let's see what are the different types of complexity and how that actually looks on the graph. The very first is constant time complexity. It can be O of 1, 2, 3, 4 and k. So this is how we actually represent constant. O of 1 does not mean only one operation. It can be 4, 5, 10, like very smaller number. So on a graph, suppose this is the input. So definitely no matter whatever input you will increase, the output will remain same. Okay, and this is what constant curve. Now second is linear, O of n. It means as we grow the input, the output also grows. Means if input is 1, output is 1. Input is 2, output is 2. Input is 3, output is 3, and so on. And this is how the graph will look like. Now it doesn't mean it will always start from the center. Just for the case I am showing you, it can even start from 2, it can even start from this 2, etc. Now the next is O of n square, which we all are used to. In the brute force approach, we'll end up making this, and for this the graph looks like this. Now what about log n? Log n means whenever there will be sorting concept there, we will apply the binary search concept, means ignoring the leftover half, and we will decide to go ahead with the rest half. So that actually takes logarithmic of n, and it actually reduces our time complexity very small. Just suppose if the number is 1024, this number is very large, right? Like 1000, correct? But when you take the logarithmic, means log base 2. Now why log base 2? Because the input we are actually, every iteration we are ignoring the rest half, we are going with the next half, then ignoring the rest half, and so on. Means every time we are ignoring the half part. That is the reason we are taking logarithmic but base 2. Okay. So if n is 1024, definitely logarithmic of n will be, yes, come on, calculate, it will be 10, right? So see, from 1000, which was 10 power 3, it has reduced to 10 power 1. So hence the logarithmic will actually help us to reduce the time complexity to very small. And that is why when we say 10 power 5, the approach can be till n log n, and it will also get submitted. Suppose instead of n square, suppose it's n cube, O of n cube, okay, or O of, so if n square goes like this, n cube will go like this, n4, n5, n6 and so on, okay. So remember, the more weightage like on the power, the higher the curve will go, okay. So remember that. And now the next two very important, O of n factorial. Now what is this? See, this is very dangerous. We all used to avoid this. Very dangerous. Why? Because see, what is 2 factorial? 2 multiplied by 1. Very easy. 3 factorial. 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1. 6. 5 factorial. Come on. 120. Now 6 factorial. 720. Now 7 factorial. 5000. Now 8 factorial. 40,000. Now 9 factorial, 3,72,000. In the factorial case, till 11 or 12 factorial only you are safe. Beyond that, 10 power 8 operations you will be completed, and you will get TLE. So hence we all stay away from this permutation based time complexities. Okay. Now another which is obviously dangerous but not like this is 2 power n, and whenever we see this time complexity, it means we are actually writing our recursion code. Why? Because when we are calling our function for 2 times, suppose for Fibonacci number, so we are calling 2 functions, right? So at every step our code is increasing by 2 times. Means Suppose we called a function, suppose 5. For 5, we called for 4 and for 3. Similarly, for 4, we called for 3, for 2, and for 3, 2 and 1. Now for 3, we again called for 2 and 1, and for 2, 1, 0, and for 2, 1, 0, and for 1, 0, minus 1, and so on. So can you see this? At number 1 step, you had 1, 2, you had 2, 3, you had 4, 4th, you had 8, now 5th, you will have 16, now 6th, you will have 32, and so on. This is also higher, definitely. And here, when your code, like if your input says till 30, if n can be till 30, you can think of recursion, or else apart from that or beyond that, recursion code will not be safer, and hence that's where you need to save your answers, optimize, and that's what dynamic programming is called. So hence these were the different time complexities graph, and here is the actual visual growth curve. This is how it actually looks like on the real time constraint, 10 power 1, 2, 3, 10 power 6 and 10 power till 12. Constant will be a straight line, okay. Logarithmic of n, if you see this more closely, it's not straight, the pink line if you can see. See, why you are seeing this straight? Because we are actually visualizing, like in a graph now, we are actually visualizing somewhere here, like only this much part. If we'll see from this perspective, we can see the graph more open, okay. But the order will be like this. Obviously, O of n will be smaller, then logarithmic of n, then n log n, then n square, n cube, 2 power n, and the most dangerous celebrity here, n factorial. So only these types of coding you will see in your day-to-day coding, and you will be get habituated to it, okay. When logarithmic of n will take, when n log n takes, definitely when we are reducing our input and output by always half of times. Now, as you are aware of all type of time complexities, so we can definitely relate to this, and I have taken the values on a safer side, not on the TLE limit. So definitely if n is till 10 or 11, you can think of applying factorial logic there. Now, if n is nearly 20, 25, 24, around that, or 30, very rare cases, then you can think of recursive approach. Now, if your n is 10 power 3, means you can think of n square, not n cube. Why? Because 10 power 3, 10 power 3, 10 power 3, n cube will become 10 power 9, and you know 10 power 9 will give us TLE. Now, if your constraint is 10 power 5, obviously n square will fail. You can think of O of n or O of n log n, because I just showed you how 10 power 3 has been reduced to just 10 because of this logarithmic, okay. So hence O of n log n will also be safer in this case. But if your output is so huge, suppose 10 power 10 or 10 power 12 or 10 power 15, you can directly think of applying what? N? No, logarithmic of n. So guys, we have seen all such type of constraints in our day-to-day coding. Why and where? On our playlist, of course, because on daily basis, you know, we are following this pattern sheet, and on daily basis we are solving questions. We have solved questions from array, from string. We are also done with binary search, all patterns, and stack also almost covered. So if you are someone who are looking to learn DSA and not randomly but pattern wise, not just want solution but also to learn how I think for the approach and how you can think for the approach, definitely you are at the right place. Do check out our playlist, do check out our videos, and try solving the sheet. I'll add the sheet link in the description. So let's move ahead. Now, when we say O of 1 complexity, like constant, what does it actually mean? Suppose we have array and we have elements 2, 4, 6, 8, and we want to read this index value. So when we are just saving the ith index value in some variable, suppose answer, then for this we say it will take O of 1, means constant complexity. Or else, suppose we have hash map, and in hash map for key, like suppose A, we have value 2. Similarly, for B, we have value 3. So when we want to read the value, like key from the hash map, that also takes constant space. So when we say O of n, all these type of operation we meant to say. Now about log n. Whenever we have been given a sorted array, suppose 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, and we have to search for an element. So definitely we want to go for middle element, and then we go for left or right. So we are actually deciding where to move and which part to totally eliminate. Means at every step we are eliminating the half part, and because of that it reduces our time complexity to logarithmic of n. So you can see this when you are given a sorted array, means applying the binary search, Or also you can see in the tree, when you will learn about binary search tree, like how you are deciding go towards left because you have to find the smaller element, eliminate the whole right part, and so on. Now when do we see O of n? Whenever we have to traverse, or whenever we have to run the for loop from 0 to n without any skip in between, then we can think of n. Or as even we are doing I plus 2 instead of I plus plus, we are doing I plus 2 or I plus 3, still this will be called a linear traversal only. Now no matter even we are doing a search operation here, or we are inserting something in the array from the end position, this will take O of n. Now what about n log n? See, log n is regarding the sorting part. Now what is this n? So if you have learnt about the merge sort, where we first break the whole array into half part, correct, and then join them back. So to divide them into half, it will take logarithmic of m, and to join them back, it will take O of n. So in total, n log n in the problems like merge sort algorithm or heap sort or quick sort average case algorithm. Now what about n square? When you can see two nested for loops where I is running from 0 to n, j is also running from 0 to n, or from I to n, you can think of O of n square time complexity. Algorithms like bubble sort algorithm, selection sort algorithm, where it takes O of n square time complexity. Now what about 2 power n? It's about recursion. When we are calling two functions at single iteration, means suppose for an answer we are calling the function for n minus 1 also and for calling n minus 2 also. So at a single iteration we are calling two functions. So definitely first this function will be called. Now for function n minus 1, n minus 2 and n minus 3 will be called, and so on. And once this will get returned back to this, now the next function will be called. Correct? So whenever it's about recursion, subsets, backtracking, we can think of 2 power n complexity. And now the most dangerous one, which is n factorial, definitely whenever we have to calculate the permutations, we can think of this and try to stay away as much as possible. But this complexity you will see in very rare cases and in very, very less questions. But in your daily basis, definitely you are going to see the constant n log n, n log n and n squared till here. This you will see when you will play with backtracking and recursion, and this, as said, very rare. Now when we talk about time complexity, now we have best, average and worst case time complexity for every case. So the best case we represent by omega. So when we say best case is 1, means omega 1. When we say best case is n, we mean to say omega n. Correct? Now theta we used to represent for average test cases, and big O for the worst case. But when we talk about the time complexity for any problem, we always thought for the worst case, and hence we always say O, big O of n, big O of n square instead of omega and theta. Remember that. But how to calculate the best, average and worst case time complexity? Let's try to do with this given example. Now here, as you can see, the very first for loop is running from 0 to n. So can I say the first for loop will take O of n time complexity? Yes. Now inside this, if you'll see, this for loop j is running from 0 to n minus I minus 1. Means if I is 0, j will run from 0 to n. Now when I will be 1, yes. So let's say I will be 0 and j will run for n. When I will be 1, j will run for n minus 1. When I will be 2, j will run for n minus 3. Correct? Yes. But n square to means O of n for this and O of n for this also. Not exactly. When you can see this minor difference n minus 1, n minus 2, 2, n minus 2, 3, n minus 3, this can also be calculated as n square. So if you see this, the code is for bubble sort algorithm, where we are actually swapping the numbers when we are finding it is greater than the previous one. Correct? Yes. So how we think for the worst case? Suppose it is sorted, but it is sorted in descending order, means 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So in the worst case, it will swap, 4 will come here, 5 will come here. Correct? Now next swap, so 3 will come here, 5 will go in the between. Now in next swap, 2 will come here, 5 will come here. Now in the next swap, 5 will actually end up in the last position. So O of n, just to move this, what? 5. Now another O of n minus 1 to move this 4 to this location. Correct? And now after that, it will look like 3, 2, 1, 4, 5. Now another O of n minus 2 to keep it here. Right? Now another O of n minus 3 to keep it here. Correct? So in total, it was not exactly O of n square, but it is near to. and hence that we consider for the worst case. Now for the best case, how can I think? What if swap will never happen? But when the swap will never happen, as you can see here the case, if you find a greater element, then you are swapping. What if we will never find this greater element? Then what we'll do? Definitely will not swap. So hence, suppose our test case are generated like this, where we are not swapping, but we are running the whole for loop to check, right, if it is greater or not. Similarly for 2, greater or not. Similarly for, but only O of n, not O of n square. Why? Because this inner for loop, we are running to switch our 5 from here to here, correct? But in this case, when you have not found your 1 greater than 2, so you have not compared your 1 with 3, 4, 5 also, right? Similarly for 2, when you compared with 3, it was smaller, so you have not compared your 2 with 4, 5 also because of this swapped flag. So hence, in the best case approach, the time complexity will be O of n. In the worst case, it will be n square. Again, the best case, correct? So hence, we will represent this by, correct, omega. But we used to say like big O of n. And how we can think of the average case? Definitely, we are swapping when it is descending order, right? So make it halfway ascending and halfway descending. Means 5, 4 and then 1, 2, 3. So it means only 5 will come here and 4 will come here, and then in case of 1, 2, 3, there will be no swapping happen. But still nearly we call it O of n square only. Now let's talk about the misconceptions we have in the time complexity. Very first is nested loops do not always means n square. Yes, it's true. Why? Because as a beginner level, whenever we see 2 nested for loops or while loops, we think of n square time complexity without even checking and dry running ki how much exact time complexity it is taking. Always try to dry run that. Let's take this example. This for loop is running from 0 to n, and we are running this while loop also until this j is less than n. Here we have initialized for 0. We can think of O of, like, it is running for n time, it is running for n time means n square. But exactly not. See, the very first for loop will run for I is equal to 0, and here the j will become 1. So next time when I will be 1, j will also be 1. Next time when I will be 2, j will also become 2. When I will be 3, j will also become 3. Correct? So hence, if we have run the for loop for one time, in the same constant time, we have increased the j value also. Means when suppose n is equal to 3 and I hit n, so definitely j also would have hit n, right? So it is not taking O of n square, it is taking just O of n. But we came to know only when we actually dry run this by taking different values on it. And this is how exactly you have to do when you will write the code. So here, even if for the best case, if you will take 0, both will take 0. If you will take 1, time complexity will be 1. If you take 10, time complexity will be 2. If n, you will take 10 power 3, the time complexity will be 10 power 3. So means it's linearly varying. So the graph will look like this. Now misconception number 2. 2n, 3n, 100n all are simplified to O of n. See, in the time complexity now, suppose the constraint is 10 power 3, so 1000. So when we are saying O of n, which is 1000, O of 2n will be 2000, right? So as per the time complexity, O of n, 2n, 3n, kn will always be considered as linear approach, but only when the constraint is small. Remember, why? Because what if the constraint is 10 power 8, okay? Now, if as per this rule, 10n is linear approach and n only, then for sure when you will multiply this 10 power 8 with 10, it will become 10 power 9 and this will give you TLE, right? So I meant to say when your constraint is small, even 2n, 3n you can consider as linear and that will be optimized approach. But in this case, when your constraint is very big, it might not be safer. But don't say in the interview it is taking 3n, 4n. If you want to define it, you can say, hey, this part is taking O of n and this part is further taking O of n, which is 2n, but the final time complexity will be O of n, which is linear. Now misconception number 3, different variables matter. See, if the for loop is running for n time and second for loop is running for m time, so even if m is equal to n, no matter until the condition says, but n into m is not equal to O of n square, remember. Why? Because just take the example of a matrix. So when we say 2D matrix, it does not mean the row and columns will be equal. No, it can happen ki number of columns are very much, but number of rows are just 2, correct? So in this case, it will be 2n instead of n square. I hope you will get it. So whenever it's about 2D matrix, so m cross n, don't say that it's quadratic time complexity of O or O of n square. Although it can mean to the same thing, which is n square, when m and n will be same, but still be used to say this m cross n instead of n square. Now the next misconception, big O ignores the constant asymptotically. Means when we say na O of 2n and O of n or O of 5n all are equal to O of n only, when the constraint will be high, it might not be true, as already earlier said. But let's try to understand with an example. Suppose a problem name is maximum average subarray, and I ask you, see, can you give me the summation of all such subarrays of size 3? Suppose this is the array you have 4, 1, 3, 4. Okay, so if you want to calculate time complexity for I is equal to 0, definitely you will take this subarray and you will do the summation, which is 11. For next time you will take this much and you will say the time complexity, which is 13. For next time it will be 10. For next time it will be 8. And for next time also it will be 8. So here though it's linear. But what if the constraint says ki k can also be less than equal to n, and it can be less than equal to 10 power 6? Means in that case, so both can be equal na. Or else, suppose k is equal to 10 power 3 and n is equal to 10 power 6. So the time complexity for this approach is O into kn. So definitely k into n will become O of like 10 power 9, and this can give us TLE. So hence, even if n has been multiplied with a constant, but it does not mean it can be safe. Means constraint matters a lot to help you decide what approach to apply. So in this case, what you will do? Obviously the sliding window approach, which we have already discussed in our pattern wise identification video, how to think for the sliding window approach here. I'll add the link somewhere here, you can do check it out. Now what about space complexity? See, in time complexity, O of n and O of 2n might be same. But in space complexity, if we are taking double space, it might be more costly, and hence you have to optimize in that case. We have already done multiple questions, but let's take a simple example. Suppose you have been given an array and you have been asked to give me two such numbers whose sum ups to 14. Okay, so now definitely if you know the two pointer approach, what will you do? You will start your left pointer from here and right pointer from here. You will add these two numbers, which is 2 plus 8, 10. You need a bigger number, so you will move your left pointer ahead. Now you will come here, again it's 12, you need a bigger number, you will move your left pointer ahead. And now here you matched up. So here the time complexity was O of n, but space complexity you have not taken, right? Another approach is, let's try to save this in a map. Means for 2 you have 1, for 4 you have 1, for 6 you have 1, for 8 you have 1. Now start iterating from here. When you are at 2, you needed 14. So 14 minus 2 means you need 12 more number. You can check from here, ki, hey, do I have 12 here? Correct? You will say no, you don't have. Now if you will have 4, you will ask, hey, do I have 10 here? No, I don't have. Now when I will be at 6, I will say, hey, I have 6, I want 14, do I have 8 here? It will say yes. So in just O of 1 time complexity, you found what number is there, correct? But here in this approach, you have taken extra space complexity. So if the interviewer is okay with taking extra space, go with this approach. And if he is not, then go with two pointer approach. One more thing, if it is sorted, then only you can apply two pointer approach. If the array is not sorted, hence you cannot apply two pointer approach and you have to go with the hash map solution. So hence knowing about the space complexity and its importance is very important. So now we are done with the video of time and space complexity, and whatever we discussed now we'll test. So it's practice time. Make sure to comment down your solution by pausing the video because this is going to be a game. Question number 1. Read the code and tell me what can be the time complexity for this case. Definitely the first for loop is running for n time and second for loop is also running for n time. So will it be n square? Think and tell me. So the correct answer is n log n. Now how many of you are correct? Let me know in the comment section. I really want to know all such names. But why n log n? See, this inner loop is for sure running for O of n times. But this outer loop, if you will check, the I is not incrementing with plus 1. It is multiplying with 2. Means the inner loop will run for n time. Suppose I is equal to 1, j will run for n times. Now when I will be 2, j will also run for n time. But now I will be 4, j will run for n time. Now I will be 8 and j will run for n time. Suppose n was 8. So definitely I is less than is equal to 8. Till now it will run. So till now I will run and j will always run for 8 times, 8 times, 8 times and 8 times. So for how many times 8 has been run? If 1 time 8 means 8, 2 time 8 means 2 into 8, 3 times 8 means 3 into 8 and 4 times 8 means 4 into 8. So what is this 8? N. And what is this 4? Which is log n. So hence I said n log n time complexity. Now question number 2. Pause the video and let me know the solution in the section. Oh wait, this question we already did, right? Yes, the time complexity will be O of n. Why? We have already discussed earlier. So if you were correct about this, very good, but no need to add in the comment section because we already discussed this, right? Now question number 3. Pause the video and let me know the answer in the section. If your answer was 2 power n, congrats, you are right. But let's see how will I calculate. I'll take n is equal to 4 here and I'll see if n is equal to 4, I am calling two functions, correct? N is equal to like n minus 1, n minus 1, 2 times, it's okay. But we are calling for 2 times, right? So for n, I will call n minus 3, correct? N minus 3. Now for this n minus 3, I'll call for n minus 2 and n minus 2. Similarly for n minus 2, I'll call for n minus 1, n minus 1. Similarly for this n minus 1, n minus 1. Now similarly, I'll just, apply the same. I'll duplicate this for this part as well. Okay, this part. So can I say for every step 1, 2, 4, like these number of values are increasing as per 2 power n. If n is 1, 2 power n minus 1. If n is 2, 2 power n minus 2 means 1, 2. Next time 2 power 2, 4. Next time 2 power 3, 8. Next time 16. So hence the time complexity is 2 power n, which we use in the recursive function. So congrats if your solution was correct. Now question number 4, which is the last question. Pause the video and let me know the time complexity in the comment section. So if your answer was n square log n, then congrats, you are right. Why? Because see, here the very first for loop is running for n time, second for loop is also running for n time. But k, we are running for n time, but we are not incrementing it by +1. We are multiplying it by 2 every time. So first time it will be 1, second time 2, third time 4, fourth time 8, correct? So suppose n is equal to 8. So for sure I will run for 8 times, j will also run for 8 times, but k is only running for 4 times. Why? Because we are running k until it is less than 8. So one time it will become 1, next time it will be 2, next time it will be 4, next time it will be 8. So we have run for only 4 times now. So this n and log n. So hence n square log of n. So this is how we actually calculate the time, by putting different values in the code. And this is how you are also expected to calculate. If you are doing this way, then congrats, you are right. But always make a habit of calculating the best, average and worst case time complexity here. Sometimes just by average test case also, like how we have taken a smaller example 8, we have got the same n squared log n time complexity. Similarly, by taking a larger number also will actually give us the same n squared log n. So in most of the cases, average and worst case can be same. Now if you are thinking how to think about the best case, definitely let's take the example n is equal to 1. So definitely the first for loop will run for, second for loop will run for, and third for loop will run, like while loop will run for, so means O of 1, correct? So best case might be different. In most of the cases, the worst case and the average case might be same. So the final takeaway, we have learned about what is time complexity, the exact definition, what was space complexity, what are the different time complexities we read, how we see on the graph. How to calculate the time complexity by putting different values, how to calculate the best, average and worst case time complexities. And also I have shown you how will I calculate if I have been given any code by taking different variables. You have also practiced all 4 questions. If you were done in all 4 questions, then I can definitely say 80 to 90% of questions you can calculate the time complexity on your own. So that's it guys. If this video was really helpful, do let me know in the comment section, and also let me know what next topic you want me to make video on. I'll definitely try to make the video for you all, and we are also making the whole playlist on data structures. If you have not checked it out, I will definitely recommend you to go and check that out, and do subscribe the channel if you like my way of teaching, and you can even recommend to your friends. And that's it for this video. Let's meet in another video if you want to be a part of Rising Brain. Until then, keep learning, take care of yourself and your family too.